UFOs or flying discs. I mean, publicly, you know.
So, when you were first informed that you were going to be doing guard duty on a secret base, were you given any kind of written military transfer orders, or
no?
How did that
I went to
come about?
36. I got off a submarine in Holy Lock, flew to Charleston, to Pensacola, to the Navy. I'm in San Diego. Went to 32nd Street, Naval facility there. I was briefed that I was transferred to a sentry duty in Nevada somewhere, which I know that everybody's pretty much aware of all the facilities out in the southwest region out here in the secrets of. I've already had a security clearance for entering some of these facilities. Nothing like this before. I had no idea that I was going to be involved in anything like this. I mean, when I first walked in, I was convinced that they were American prototype vehicles. The Americans were not until I viewed the bodies. Then I knew, something was a little different.
So Connor O'Ryan starts telling you, Wendelle, that he's been to S4, that he's been a sentry at level 2.
A sentry at level 2 of S4, and he told me that they live at that level, they have barracks facilities, they sleep in, their meals are catered into them. They're told not to talk to each other at level 4 except in front of the television set watching ball games or at the table where they're eating. Otherwise, they're not supposed to be talking at all. Their names were taken away when they got the jobs, and they were given numbers, and they were supposed to address each other by number. They wore number tags, not name tags. He'd been in the service for over 10 years. He was assigned to Delta Team 6, that was a special security team that was called together when they needed them. He said he'd been on patrol, perimeter patrol around the base and other things like that with his team, Delta 6 team. And that they did, that was their outside activity mostly. All the rest of his service was inside in level 2 of S4.
Did he answer to the service commands?
He said that they had a direct line, a separate line of command that they responded to. He thought it went directly to the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Had you heard of anything like that before?
Never heard of a direct lines before. He told me that they weren't allowed to socialize inside. They weren't allowed to know each other's true identity. They all arrived alone, and apparently they all arrived at the same time because they all had numbers in serials. 121, 122, 123, 124, and 125. Yeah, he said that they worked regular shift, 4 hours on and 8 hours off, round the clock. He said they weren't allowed to do anything but check people using the elevators to go down. He said they didn't look at their cards or anything. They had a right eye retina scan, a palm print, and a card, a plastic card. And if they didn't match, a bell would ring when their duty was to arrest them and hold them until somebody came down from upstairs to take them away. He never got below level 2, never knew what was going on down there. He said that there were separate elevators down to level 3 and a separate elevator to level 4, and they heard strange sounds coming up from the lower levels sometimes up the shaft, but they were driven from their S4 facility to Nellis Air Force Base in a bus with blocked out windows that went right into the back of the Imperial Palace to a secure facility maintained by Wackenhut. And they got out of the vehicle in the hotel, and they got in the vehicle to leave again in the hotel. Nobody ever saw them outside. When they returned from their rest and recuperation leave, they were given a hypnotic regression to see shortly, and he didn't know what happened during that. They never knew what took place. But he told me that they were given an annual physical every quarter. And during the annual physical, they were given a full annual physical, and the last part of the annual physical was a 1-hour induction. They didn't know what took place at that time because they were not allowed to remember any of it.
So this was a hypnotic session?
It was a hypnotic induction, and he didn't know. He was worried about him probing his subconscious because they weren't allowed to remember anything that happened in the induction. Sometimes there were strip searches, but not always. Yeah, up to a week before he came to my house. He had just gotten back to Los Angeles to his his parents' home and had just rented an apartment in town there. And now he's out, and he's afraid for his co-conspirators inside. And so he decides to come to me to hold the story until, for their safety, in case something happened to them. And they had already prepared these stashes of pictures, and he was going to give me one of them to hold. And he wanted me to tell the story, and the rest of the people holding would refer to my stature in reporting these sort of things.
There's 15 sentries there that live on the base. We live in level 1. There's a barracks there, which gives us TV. The food there is all right. It's equivalent to being on a submarine, basically, the barracks quarters.
Of course, you had experience on a submarine.
Yes.
In preparation for this kind of isolation.
Yes, I've been on a 688 class submarine. I did 3 tours on it. We wore hats like this, but they were just all black. This is this old set of black uniform fatigues. The shirts were just the same, just like a regular camo fatigue jacket. We carried Glock 9mm, which is a European-made 9mm, and sometimes we were distributed M16s, and sometimes we were distributed Ingram MAC-10s, 9mm.
What would be the occasion for changing the weapons? Anything in particular?
I think if they feel that there's an outside threat on the base, I don't know if that's just information that they're receiving, or a sensor's been breached like the night before, and maybe an M16 would be better for a long-range weapon, but a MAC-10 would be used just for in case somebody was going to sabotage the plant from inside personnel, or an overran, because a MAC-10 is excellent for an urban warfare, an urban weapon. An M16 would be a good long-range shot. There's no identification worn at the facility. No people walking around with identification cards.
Name tags, nothing.
No, but the sentries, there's no name tags on our uniforms. No. We don't wear no military medals. We don't. No stripes, no nothing. We wore black uniforms at night, and during the day we wore a brown uniform. No names were ever discussed. We called each other in the barracks just, by our ranks. We used rank only, and we were ranked, individually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Detachment of 6 guys. At any given time, it was an actual detachment of 10 people, but in my detachment, we had all got there at the same time. We're all briefed at the same time, so I guess that they had relieved the whole complete detachment. But the other detachments I know were there for a little bit longer. As I say, we were on 4-hour shifts with an 8-hour off, 4 hours, 8 off, 4 on, 8 off. When we're off our shifts, we don't know what happens on other shifts. We're not briefed in any way whatsoever on anything that happened the night before or anything. We're told not to talk with any security personnel during any of our duties at all. We're not allowed to say one word. We're supposed to use peripheral vision at all times. We're not allowed to discuss any duties while we're in our cubicles at night, our barracks, as you could say. That's just the way it was.
There were audio pickups all through the place, and if they talked to anybody else, they were called in and treated.
Our sole thing to do is just to be a sentry, an idiot, a grunt. You're just standing there. And we don't hear where everything's need to know, and we don't need to know nothing, so that's the way it was. None of the chain of command was ever discussed. Our boss was the watch commander out front, which was in charge of all security. I have no idea who was in charge of the facility or who even ran the facility. Now, I've been in the Navy, so with the Special Warfare Department so long that you know better than to ask questions by now. The questions are just don't ask. As I said before, I've already been with the Special Forces for so long. I think that they really trusted me I think they trusted everybody.